2019, around April or so, I've been watching wrestling again for about a year and a half now, predominantly New Japan. I've got 3 young sons, and as it goes in wrestling families, if the dad watches wrestling, so do the kids. So it's de facto. My kids are huge NJPW marks. My kids really like heels, so they become kind of enamored with Bullet Club. Bullet Club is throwing their first Bullet Club block party. I find out about it, I speak with my wife about it, and we decide that we're going to go ahead and surprise the kids and take them out there. Now, we live in Texas. This is in New Jersey. My wife is terrified to fly, so I drove 1,808 miles one way to take my kids to go meet, their favorites. We get there, and it's phenomenal. The first one that we have the meet and greet with is Haku. One of my sons at this time is 5, and the other son is 7. Now, we only took these 2 because the youngest one was too young to travel at the time. My middle son, the 5-year-old at this time, has super long blonde hair, pretty much down to the small of his back. We've never cut hair. It's his pride and joy. Haku sees him standing in line waiting for his turn at the meet and greet, and he's enamored by him. He immediately walks over, starts talking to us and talking to my son. Conversation goes on about 5-10 minutes, and he asks if he can pick my son up, and asks my son. My son doesn't care. He doesn't know who this man is. It's just some old grandpa to him, so he says, yeah, sure. So Haku picks my kid up and proceeds to just kind of wander around the meet and greet hall holding my kid, introducing him to a couple of people. Awesome. Then Haku proceeds to do his meet and greet photos for a couple of other fans not attached to my family while still holding my child. So somebody somewhere has photos of them at the block party with some random kid that Haku's holding. Yeah, that was my son.
The very first episode, the very first call was Grandpa Haku, and it was about Haku at a show picking up a child, younger than this child, but picking up a child and stretching him and playing with him and whispering sweet nothings that he was going to train him when he got older. And here we are a couple years later with a 5-year-old, and I picture it, picking him up, bouncing him around, bringing him around everybody, just wanting this kid to have the greatest time because Haku is the true grandpa of professional wrestling. I will say this call was a lot longer and had a lot also to do with how great Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa were to the kids and at the Bullet Club block party in general. And the caller was putting over everybody, saying it was such a great time. And I loved it because the caller was like, when any of the wrestlers saw the kids, they all gravitated and they all wanted to make sure that the kids have the greatest time. And this is something that I believe in too. It's a principle I believe in, is leave a great impression on the children and they will grow up loving wrestling and loving you probably for the rest of your life. How can you not forget that if you're in that age range where you're starting to remember stuff and one of these wrestlers make an impression, it'll be there for life. But for the story's sake, I decided to stick with Haku. It was perfect. Haku is perfect. When I saw him at AEW when his other son Hikuleu wrestled, I just was looking at Haku, beaming, excited, knowing that he was such a great grandpa, hoping that he would pick me up, play with me a little bit, but he didn't. I'm a little out of his age range. But I do appreciate the call, and I do appreciate you taking your kids to this event and being such a great father. Not as good as a grandfather that Haku is, but still a great father. Hey, thanks for watching. That call was part of a whole podcast called Wrestling Anonymous. Listen to the whole thing weekly. Wherever you listen to your podcast, go subscribe. While you're at it, subscribe right here on YouTube to Colt Cabana's channel. Thank you.